Coming up on episode 87 of the Upful Life podcast.
I feel like I'm New Orleans' baby girl.
Diamond in the back, sunroof top, digging the scene with the gangster lean.
I've been writing since I was about 11, 12, ever since I opened up my sister's journal and began to read her poetry. And I had my own poetry books and things like that, like just notebooks that you write in. And when I was in middle school, I got a CD with a bunch of kids on it doing poetry. And I just fell in love with these kids. I went to their school to do a poetry slam, and I just knew all of them just by their voice. I'm like, oh, you must be Akeem Martin. You must be Caitlin. You know what I'm saying? Big fans early. And I won that competition at that school. And I was able to just stay friends with these children for years. And we just grew with each other. And after Hurricane Katrina happened, I went to Indianapolis. And one of those kids from, adult now, he was like, we're starting a new poetry group in New Orleans. I want you to come try out for it. And I was like, I haven't been writing. I'm really, he was like, just come, try it out, got on the team. And we just made this beautiful team called Team Snow, Slam New Orleans in New Orleans. And we worked really hard. And we combined music and poetry in a very special, unique way.
Where are you? And just something happens with that where it's like a resonant thing happened between my brain and my fingers. And the thing, it was like synesthesias of meaning, synchronicities happening around me while doing it. I believe in the idea that language is the fundamental layer of reality. And so the way that we render information to our experience of life is through language and through code, and that our relationship to language is we learn ABCs and that, but that's using phonetic alphabets. And back in ancient Egypt and ancient Greece, thriving civilizations and cultures existed, and language was a living thing.
Let's drink a toast forever and ever. Let's drink a toast forever and ever.
Yes, indeedy. Welcome to the Upful Life podcast. I'm your host, B.Getz, and this is episode number 87. Coming at you live and direct from the ViBE Junkie Studios in Oakland, California. And we are NOLA bound, searching for that sound, headed to the Jazz Fest. So grateful you are tuning in.
I love you very much.
Yes, indeedy. The Upful Life podcast is proudly presented by Just SCHWANDERING, who's throwing some really dope shows down there in New Orleans over the Jazz Fest. Starting with Day Zero. Fest du Void brings to you Day Zero, which is exactly what the hell it sounds like. It's on the day before Jazz Fest starts, Wednesday, April 23, an all-day affair down at the Broadside. And it's being headlined by the Magic Beans, and all the way from Dubai, Noon, coming all the way from Dubai. We've got Jesus Coombs, Ever Rare Peasant Party, love those sessions. Mike Dillon and Punkadelic. Holly Rock, which is an OG psychedelic honky-tonk project that predates the Iceman special, but the same crew. We also got Bakey's Brew and a couple of 13-year-old killers down there called Hell Priests, among other artists, and Yoga starts at 1 p.m. There's an after party, because that's how they do it down there. Day Zero after party going down at the Rabbit Hole with an Adam Deitch producer set headlining. Support from Atlanta's Rohan Solo, another great bass music artist. And then after we hop the weekend, Monday and Tuesday, April 28 and April 29 at Gasa Gasa, they got locals only, placing a spotlight on the dynamite local talent that's bubbling up in the Crescent City. April 28th, got Zoomst, Bakey's Brew, and the Love Muscles. I love the Love Muscles. Also love Zoomst. And then on the 29th, Big Worm, Adam Cat, and Max Sanders Cosmic Gumbo. DJs start at 9 p.m. Locals get in for $10. That's locals only. All of this brought to you by Just Schwandering. Shout out my man Donald. See y'all down at the Jazz Fest.
After the night, don't leave the girl around me, true player for real. That's my nigga for real. Call me out when you want me, go.
Yes, indeedy, dearly beloveds, and we're back. Episode 87 of the Upful Life podcast. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to last episode with the lovely and talented Ms. Nubia Garcia. I had the privilege of seeing her perform live the other night here in the chapel in SF. It was an absolute joy and just fulfilling and resonated deeply. Packed room. I'm sure she's going to be playing something bigger next time she comes through. My story about that show will be up on Live for Live Music very soon. I encourage everybody to check it out. It'll also be on upfullife.com, where all my work is archived. Print work, interviews, the podcast, concert reviews, even some promotional stuff I do for artists, bios, about pages, EPKs and such. Upfullife.com. And let me tell you something. I really appreciate if you would like and subscribe to the Upful Life podcast. Apply pressure to the subscribe button. In fact, smash that subscribe button. And if you're picking up what I'm putting down, and you have the time and are so inclined, please rate and review the Upful Life podcast, preferably on Apple Podcasts. But really, whatever digital streaming platform you use, rate and review the Upful Life podcast. You can leave comments on individual episodes on Spotify. All that stuff goes a long way with those algorithms, bringing attention and new listeners to the Upful Life podcast. And that, my friends, is a beautiful thing. Now, if you want to just holler at your boy, reflections, suggestions, constructive criticism, send me an email, b.getz@upfullife.com. I love to hear from the people. And if you want to send me a few dollars for making you holla, support all things Upful Life. You can go to the Upful Life website, upfullife.com. There's a support button at the top of the menu. If you click that, it goes to my Venmo. I really appreciate any and everybody who supports the music media endeavors I embark on here with the Upful Life. And if you're not really a Venmo person, you can just send me an email, b.getz@upfullife.com. I'm certain we can figure out a method of exchange that works for you. Follow Upful Life on Instagram, /Upful_life. Yep, still on the dinosaur Facebook, /Upful Life, one word, and building something over there on Patreon if you want to contribute or just poke around. Patreon.com, /Upful Life, one word. We're listening to the legendary Roots crew in Ursher rehearsing for Jazz Fest, about to head down to the Jazz Fest. This is from 2017, but we're about to head down to the Jazz Fest in about 2 days. And I'm really excited for all the stuff that Live for Live Music is doing down there. They put up my articles and different versions of my coverage But they also throw some cool shows and parties down there with GMP Productions and my man Paul Levine, Purple Hat Productions. That team right there, they throw a ton of shows every night in the clubs. They've got the mini festival days between on Tuesday, Wednesday between Jazz Fest weekends. Go to liveforlivemusic.com, check out everything they got going on. And speaking of New Orleans, let's get into episode 87 with a very special New Orleans superstar.
Kirk, 2, 3, Kirk. Yeah. Tonight, I'ma be alright. Mark and horse. Come on. Yeah.
Heart just like a firecracker, fireworks and jack-o'-lanterns lit up like a cabin's lantern, like a black activist in the past, way too passive in the past, way too massive, taking up the space. Hot air balloons somewhere in Kansas, but I don't know what happened. Did I lose the magic?
Yes, indeedy. It is indeed my honor and privilege to welcome to episode 87 of the Upful Life podcast, TARRIONA Tank Ball, founder, visionary, and front person of the wildly popular and critically acclaimed Tank and the Bangas. Now, this conversation took place on the fifth and final morning of Jam Cruise 21 back in mid-February, and it was set up in advance, and this was a rough slotting. I think it's fair to say it was at like noon on the last day of Jam Cruise, and a lot of people in a lot of places wanted this interview to happen. I was trying to see if it could get rescheduled. It couldn't, so I got just enough shut-eye, rest, recharged to show up and be the best version of my best self I could possibly be in those circumstances. And I will acknowledge I was not as like hyphy and you know, charged up as I often am, but I was attentive and engaged and fully engrossed. And it was truly an honor to speak with the Grammy-winning artist, fresh off the dub, right there in the posh confines of this little jazz lounge after hours or off hours during Jam Cruise. So what you're hearing is a conversation between Tank and myself. And before we get to that, I'm just going to run through a short bio for Tank and the Bangas. They explore the most tender and true parts of life's journey, unique and with a vibrance that could only come from New Orleans. The lead vocalist, Tank, has stretched her vocals over quirky raps, poetry, and rich melodies since the release of their first album, Think Tank, in 2013. 4 years later, they had a viral breakthrough as winners of NPR Tiny Desk Concert, an eclectic performance that has since been praised by musicians like Miguel, Anthony Hamilton, and has now amassed over 14 million views on YouTube. Now, Tank and the Bangas arrive with a new 3-part album, The Heart, the Mind, and the Soul. With this offering, Tank opens up about the wisdom she's gained from new beginnings, endings, and the in-betweens. And with that, let us hear from TARRIONA Tank Ball. Yes, indeedy. All right. Day 5, Jam Cruise 21. And I had the extreme honor and privilege this morning to be sitting here with Grammy-winning artist
Whoa.
Tank of Tank and the Bangas.
Yes.
So first things first, I just want to say thank you for making the time to have this chat. Really means the world.
Thank you. Definitely been up since 10 a.m. to have this chat.
I get my steps in and get my mind right before we chatted. But nonetheless, it's a busy boat. There's a lot going on. So I appreciate when you could be sleeping or eating or in, the sauna or massage, you're with me. And so I'm grateful for that.
Oh, thank you.
So you've played twice since we've been on the boat, once in the theater, once on the pool deck.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of your just initial snap judgments, reactions to your performances here and just your experience, making your way around the boat in this community?
It's a lot of first thoughts. It's just that everybody is definitely, they have a freedom here. It reminds me of They used to have an old commercial in New Orleans that people used to zip out of their business suits, and they would say, "Come to New Orleans, you're yourself here." And so they're definitely on theme, they're on brand, they're into the jams of it all. Sometimes I definitely wonder if we fit into the mold of what's going on here, because we are different and we don't have years in like everybody do, and we don't, just sit around and just jam, I suppose. So I wonder, I'm like, are they sure they wanted the right girl, but when you get out there and people tell you how your set made them feel, you feel like you're right where you're supposed to be at.
There's definitely a connection between New Orleans and Jazz Fest and that culture and those traditions that, people experience that in the Crescent City, and then they want to recreate it in different places with authenticity. And so I think that is the connection that makes this sort of symbiosis between New Orleans and jam crews. There's the costuming, there's the funkiness, there's the freedom, as you mentioned. And my mom, who goes to Jazz Fest every year, this is her 13th Jazz Fest, she'll be 82.
Whoa, mama.
My mom that first told me about Tank and the Bangas, she put me on game. So I wanted to say, it doesn't necessarily need to be your target demographic or your quote-unquote audience for you to, affect people's lives.
I always have somebody that's like 80, 90 something years old coming up to me and saying, "I'm your oldest fan." And I'm just like, "No, you're not, but I appreciate you," because they really range and race range and all of it, honestly, everywhere. So I don't even know it goes everywhere. But here is definitely, I wonder.
Well, fret not. The people really loved you, and what you present, I've been watching you for a good while, is just such a unicorn. The performance art of it all, and your energy, you interact with your bandmates, all that is just
Important.
incredible.
Thank you.
To behold, and also to be so close. Like here, there's like an intimacy to these performances.
Definitely. I think that's one of the best parts for them. Like, they I get to eat breakfast with somebody I just heard do an amazing set last night, because I've definitely had some breakfast with some strangers.
Yeah, but that's okay here, right? Like, it's fun. It's sort of like I might just sit down and eat with a fan or a fellow musician, or, I met musicians' parents in the buffet. They insist I sit down and have breakfast at them. And I'm, having really a nightcap, and they're having breakfast. What are your thoughts about jam crews in general? Like, do you find yourself having a good time when you're not performing? Have you been able to take advantage of
Oh, I love being on the boat not performing. Definitely. Cause I just got me some insoles made for my feet, you know what I'm saying? I've had a stone massage. I've sat in the hot tub. I'm gonna get in there right after me and you talk and swim. I'm definitely taking advantage of feeling like a performer and someone who also needs much needed rest. And I'm taking advantage of that for sure. And I think all the artists are, if they're not so busy just performing. I'm someone that I appreciate rest. I'm into it.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's important. You gotta listen to
So if I'm not at every jam, don't worry about all that.
Okay.
I appreciate my rest.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We need you rested so you can deliver what we saw.
And on the pool deck was it's very hard.
I can't imagine.
It's very difficult. It's so much. It's almost like Mother Nature is pushing against you and just saying, "Sit down, bitch." I'm sorry. Can you curse on this podcast?
Of course.
Sit down, bitch. Like, that's what it feels like, and it's like, whoa. And all my musicians felt it, and I talked to the musicians, and they feel it too. And it's just, it's intense performing on a pool deck with a stage on top of it, sailing in the middle of the ocean. It's just, oh my gosh, it looks fun, but it looked like, oh, I can't wait to do it. And then you do it, and you're like, wow, this is difficult, because you feel exasperated and you haven't even done anything. It knocks the wind out you.
On the pool deck as a fan, sometimes a gust of wind will come through and literally knock you.
And my microphone kept doing that, so I tried to pull it down with my face. It's a couple of factors. It's like, whoa.
Well, we couldn't tell. You know what I mean? Y'all were carrying it just fine. But
Everybody was, because I'm watching everybody performance and they're killing it up there. So you definitely can't see what they're feeling inside with the gravity.
Somebody make some noise! Look at all that money! Oh, that's a whole lot of money! Is this Jam Cruise 2020? Man, I got bills on top of bills, checks on top of checks, racks on top of racks, banking checks. I just got doing the most. I just got too many clothes. What can be worried about doing like Man, look at me, girl, look at me. Look at all the things I got, all the money that I get. I'ma go cop that, yeah. Look at me, girl, look at me. They play rap. Them boys are just like Martin. What? That's the sign me shopping malls. They won't find me Gucci, birds, Gucci, man, Gucci.
it's also just such a unique experience to take in the music on the pool deck with the wind blowing in your hair in the middle of the ocean. It's almost like a dream, to be so far from our daily reality on this monstrous ship in the middle of the ocean, and then also just be like just exposed like that, the music, and you're like on the corner of the earth.
You definitely have to make that your perspective, because right now you're fighting against what's really going on.
And it could take you out of the game, huh?
It definitely can. So you have to have I have moments of, damn, this is hard, and then you have moments of, this is beautiful, this is special. So you have to put yourself in that place, because other than that, you for your life. And I like how you romanticize it, but it's two realities in it. And I like your perspective, but you have to make that your perspective, because other than that, you're just trying to entertain.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we're coming from different perspectives. You are trying to entertain, and we're just there to be entertained.
Yes.
That environment.
That's why you're like, man, in the middle of the ocean, corner of the world, this is amazing. I'm up there. Yes, but I feel you on that. You gotta take it all in.
And the Pantheon, the sound in there is amazing. It's like
The theater is dope.
Yeah,
The theater is dope. So you would do this every year until you die?
No, actually, this is my first boat in 9 years.
Oh, it's been a while.
Yeah.
I think we haven't been on this boat in 5 years? 5 years.
Yeah, so this is your second time?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, this is my third, but first in 9 years.
I know you haven't knew a good time.
Yeah.
It's been too long for you.
Yeah, my wife goes every year.
And you let her?
Yeah, what's up?
Without you?
Letting. My wife does what she does.
And you don't go with her?
Well, no, this is one that she gets to have. I get to do a lot of things. My line of work is to go.
You get to be free.
And do something with my wife.
I would think that y'all would want to do this together, though.
Well, she's always wanted to do it with me, but it's expensive and also, taxing, obviously physically and financially. So.
Oh, I thought since you was like an artist.
Oh, this year.
That is all good for you. Okay, I'm about to say, that's all. Okay.
This year, I wasn't. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, but without getting into the weeds, there's another journalist for our company. This is his territory. I get New Orleans Jazz Fest. I had for many years. He does Jam Cruise. And so this year, his wife wanted to do something else.
Nice.
Said, dude, I need you to fill in for me on the boat. And I said, could you do that? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I think I can
do that.
Yeah.
It was such a great surprise to my wife because I finally could say, hey, I'm going. We're doing it. But I'm in a different cabin with her.
Oh, that's
for people. And I'm with.
But she with a crew. She with a crew.
It's been the best of both worlds because I need to get a little sleep so I can at least function and speak to you. But they're like, playing kickball and then going out to brunch. They're probably just getting to that.
I love it.
So that's the life here. And I'm a little old for that behavior, but at the same time, it's nice to check in for it once in a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like that.
And baby, don't you worry about those little things. They turn to bigger things over time. Yeah. And baby, don't you hurry to get those bigger things. Everything is everything, and it all turns alright, alright. Little fly, little fly, little fly, fly. Passing by, passing by, passing by. I wonder where you going, where you heading to an ocean. Just having a fly by when I was chilling outside. Are you looking for fruit, buzzing like blue, musical annoyance and volumes? I'm amused by your pursuit. Well, I catch you, I kill you, I smash you, I end you. No big deal, you was buzzing past my earlobe. No thoughts, I go on with my day, listening to Jigga and Dilla. I'm no killer, I was buzzing, I was chilling. So you, so gone, so gone, so gone, so gone, so gone, so gone.
I want to shift gears for a second, just talk about
Okay.
the Grammy win and sort of take it all the way back, because you won in the best spoken word category.
Yes.
And that's your roots, slam poetry.
Yes.
And so can you talk just a little bit about like your embryonic beginnings as like a writer, as a performer, as a poet, as a in the poetry side of things, and then sort of
Yes.
the evolution of the thing you do?
I've been writing since I was about 11, 12, ever since like I opened up my sister's journal and began to read her poetry. And I had my own poetry books and things like that, you know, like just notebooks that you write in. And when I was in middle school, I got a CD with a bunch of kids on it doing poetry. And I just fell in love with these kids. I went to their school to do a poetry slam, and I just knew all of them just by their voice. I'm like, oh, you must be Akeem Martin. You must be Caitlin. You know what I'm saying? Big fans early. And I won that competition at that school. And I was able to just stay friends with these children for years. And we just grew with each other. And after Hurricane Katrina happened, I went to Indianapolis. And one of those kids from, adult now, he was like, we're starting a new poetry group in New Orleans. I want you to come try out for it. And I was like, I haven't been writing. I'm really, he's like, just come, try it out, got on the team. And we just made this beautiful team called Team Snow, Slam New Orleans in New Orleans. And we worked really hard. And we combined music and poetry in a very special, unique way.
Mama ain't seen since she was green and 16. So I'm about to tell you what they forgot to mention to me. Mama has a blind eye and a deaf ear. Yet she can see and hear exactly what she wants. Shouldn't come to a surprise that she wasn't born with any physical deficiencies. Yet she still flaunt that disability, talking about how she can't see. Her new husband sneaking into her daughter's room, so we assume, cause ever since Mama got married, Lisa ain't talked since that June. But since Mama could never hear anyway, she ain't never noticed. She never noticed that conversations would drop whenever Pop popped up home. But I guess when you're deaf in the ears you choose to hear with, I guess coincidences are gathered like daisies and come in plenty. Fast forward. Y'all know how life, marriage, and the Bible go, huh? How that scripture go? What my God has put together, let no man put asunder. I guess forgot to mention his hands under her covers. But that's the story of another life. Maybe another time, like when Mama not deaf and she blind.
After we won the biggest competition there was to win, which was nationals, that's when I decided I want to do this full time and I want a band. And I just started speaking things for myself, and those things began to just attach themselves to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, anything I speak, I'm getting it. So after that, it's just been up since then, honestly. And with the band, since we were birthed from an open mic night, we just know how to flow with each other in my poetry and my music. And I was able to do both of them and flip them. And when I was at the Grammys and I saw the category come up, I said, oh my gosh, that's my category. And just went full force after that, honestly, into the spoken word category and making this album.
And it's a 3 volumes.
Yes.
And you had like a different producer, like kind of co-creator for each of them.
For each one, yeah.
Glasper,
Poyser, and Iman Omari.
Yeah, I don't know the amount of...
Get into Iman Omari. He is a vibe. Just listen to high loops and higher loops. I just write. He started out, I feel like, making beats, and now he kind of sings too. So he sings and he makes beats, not kind of sing. He sang and make the beats, and it's just a vibe. And he's from California, and it's just, and I didn't even much know he lived in New Orleans for a while. Like, he's amazing, and I just always knew that I wanted to work with him because his work makes me want to write. So we had fun. I had fun with everybody, and I didn't realize how amazing and big James Poyser was.
He's incredible.
He's incredible, and he's such a pioneer in neo soul. And Robert, just press record, and me and Robert's gonna have us a good time, and just don't stop pressing record, because you just never know what magic we're gonna make. We like to be very free in the studio together.
Yeah.
fireworks and jack-o'-lanterns lit up like a cabin's lantern, like a black activist in the past, way too passive in the past, way too massive, taking up the space. Hot air balloons somewhere in Kansas, but I don't know what happened. Did I lose the magic? Helium and hot dogs, trying through this purple planet. But I'm way too up to come down, to music, to no sound, too lovely with brown.
Did you get the sense when you were making this most recent 3-part record that it was going to be that special? Like while it was coming?
Even people I was asking to get on it that wouldn't get on it, I was like, it's going to be a very special project. It's almost like I want to say, it's going to be a Grammy-winning project. You know what I'm saying? Don't get on it if you don't want to.
You know, the record speaks for itself.
I just love the way it was put out. I love how intentional it was. I love how we kept our fans' attention. And I like how we made it short because we just looked at what was going on in the world today and how, you know, people's attention spans were so short, and the short videos that we made for it and everything. It just was, I just love how intentional it was. And it was a real brainchild. It was thoughtful.
Right on. Yeah, it's an interesting point with regard to attention spans and like the listeners today, the way music is presented, the way art is presented, and is going to be commodified into these little reels and these. But you, instead of saying like that doesn't work for me or I can't do that or devalues the art, you make that format work for you.
Yeah, we did.
Is that intentional to young people who use their phones in this manner? We got to give them what we do through those avenues.
It was a second thought, not a first. The first was literally, I just want to do it in 3 parts. And because I want to talk about the different relationship that I've had with my heart and relationships and with my mind and, you know, and with my soul and even with my body. But it just on a way was like, you know, and it became intentional even more later on to keep them interested because the numbers will go up and then the numbers will go down, you know, on your listeners. I'm like, how can we keep them engaged?
So you got to find ways to do that without, you know,
compromise. And I don't feel compromised.
No, not a little.
Probably like this one song. Only I was like, oh, it got to be a song, poem. It got to be, you know, I got to speak it because I don't want them to, you know, take this out of the spoken word category because, you know, I'm a singer too. So I have to find that balance to make sure that it meets the qualifications for spoken word. Oh my God. And the fact that they're playing Stevie Wonder, you know Stevie Wonder. Thank you so much, Academy. Thank you so much. We are thanking the Bangas, and we want to thank our best friend Tavia, who is our manager as well. And we want to thank Verve Records and Tamara Joy and Robert Glasper and Q Million and James Poyser and Iman Omari and Austin Brown and Brian London. And oh my God, I'm so nervous. I don't even much know who to thank no more.
Thank God. Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you, God. And all the poets and all the spoken word artists that's in this category. And this is a win for poetry and poets everywhere, from the slam mics to the open mics to the Grammy stage. Thank you, Jeremy.
Courtney and Amari for letting me do this. I love y'all. Thank you.
I wanted to also ask, because I listened to you on another podcast or another show where you were talking about like your theatrical, you know, influences and also like Disney and how that has like informed your work. Maybe not like the music itself, but the presentation, the look, the narratives. How big of a role were you, like a theater kid?
I'm not.
No? You didn't act in plays?
I did not. I haven't been in one play.
So where does that come from?
I just think it come from having sisters and playing with Barbie dolls for a long time and, you know, watching one of those children that watch the TV, they're real close up, and reading because it makes it just sharpens your imaginations and widens it. But that's it, though. Honestly, that's all I can say.
I can't go to the mountain skate down the hall and cruise. Or do you need permission from your mama? I think I need permission too. You like the shit, you carry me to do what I gotta do. You keep when you tearing at the base and work for the time you had to make.
I understand you worked with Norah Jones when you were younger.
That's my girl. Not too much younger.
No.
It's a couple of years.
Was it after the NPR, sir?
No, it's before.
That's what I'm saying. So before the NPR, you linked. How did you meet her?
She heard me in New Orleans at One Eye Jack's. And then she reached out. I was at Waffle House, and I never forget when she reached out. She was like, hey, I got a really silly song. I would love for you to get on it, but you can say no. And I'm like, girl, you Norah Jones. I'm not going to say no. But I realized why she said that. The song was about pooing. It was about men who don't think women take a shit. That's what the whole song was about. And she liked all the voices that I have inside, and she wanted to play with that. So
We're here to clarify something. If you give us a minute, it's the plain truth. Let's see now, where do we begin it? Here's a message to all the men out there in the world about the woman in your life that you may find this absurd. So fellas, grab your lady, hold her close. This is why she smells like a candy rose. It's a secret we kept from you boys again and again. Yo, Jonesy, go ahead, it's time to school these men.
I'm a lady, baby, so I'm pretty and cute. My biology just ain't the same, it's different from you. Because boys have colons, let me give you the scoop. You see, I'm a lady, baby, so I don't poop.
Remember, she excused herself to powder her nose. She said, boo,
Stay here, you chill out with your bros.
we were kindred spirits. Even the night before the Grammys, we went out to dinner. She said, I'm just here, I'm not going to win. And when they called her name to win, I was just like, I love that girl so much. She's really cool.
Really amazing that was like your first kind of like break or like into the industry with such just incredible artists, and also someone not from New Orleans but from New York.
Yeah, and I don't even feel like that was even some type of break. It doesn't even feel that way, but Norah definitely helped in her own special natural ways. Even when I first went on Jimmy Fallon with her,
Right.
I felt like
I watched that.
I was like, oh, I'm just, because I would never do background for real. I don't feel like I have the ear for it, honestly. And but when she calls for it, I'm like, I'm gonna do it for Norah. And when I went on Jimmy Fallon, I said, I'm gonna be on Jimmy Fallon with my band, and he's gonna love me. He's not gonna know why. And that's exactly what happened.
Making their TV debut, performing Nice Things from their upcoming album Green Balloon, please welcome Tank and the Bangas!
This boy be in my DM say I'm pretty. Make my lonely less lonely. Make my body feel curvy and my skin nice and deep. My edges is deep in compliments, baby hair deep in it. This boy be in my DM at 2 a.m. telling me I look real beautiful today. Told me what he could not say in the daytime. Like showing a black girl love can only be in the nighttime. Yes, later, alligator smell the beepers. Okay. I ain't got no chill. I ain't got your milk. Look, you should do some nice things for me. Nice things.
She was like, oh, I just love you guys so much. Like, I'm like, because I spoke it. And it's so crazy because if I didn't go on there with her, I don't think I ever would have dreamt that for myself.
Yeah, I think that you seem to have like a way with manifesting and like speaking things into existence.
Yes, definitely.
I mean, that's a mighty power.
It is.
You know, but it's true. You know, you live in it.
Yes, it's very cool.
Can you talk a little bit about your bandmates? Because you are Tank and the Bangas. So
Yeah.
What makes a Banga?
Tank, I choose a banger.
Yeah.
And
Is there prerequisites or any kind
a
of
vibe,
looking for?
a energy, a chemistry, executing the music. What can you add to it? What's your stage presence like? And if you don't have no stage presence, we will work on that together in our alone time. And it's really about a good energy. Norman loves the quote because he's been the banger that's been with me the longest. That Greg gave him Feeling Games, I believe. It's Feeling Games, right?
Yeah, they work with Michael.
Yes, Michael Jackson's guy. And he said, you'll never be a better musician than you are a person. Or you'll never be a better person than you are a musician. One of these things. But basically, be a better person and be a good person. Your musicianships will follow you afterwards. Because if you're a jerk musician, I don't want to work with you even though you're the best. But if your personality and your spirit and your heart ain't right, like, why would we want to work with you? So, I think it's kind of like, it may be like the Temptations. You never know how it's going to be at the end of the days, but I'm going to always be here. And the songs are going to evolve and change and grow, and we're going to do them.
I've been seeing him for a while, so fine. Coffee's getting pretty smile, back and forth, hard eyes. To my surprise, he hasn't asked your girl out. But why he taking so long? Don't be acting all shy. I'm not like other girls, you know. I ask you out if you're moving too slow. Who knows where this flirty thing gon' go? But green means go. Hello. Is it me?
I mean, I love it. I love the way you lead a band and the way the Bangas respond. The whole like spin fun flow, and it's almost like it's very theatrical. Even though if you tell me that ain't it, it's just y'all, but it feels like this very nuanced performance. What I'm understanding is you guys just get up.
It's just from the heart. Yeah, it's from the heart, but I can see why anybody would think it's theatrical. It is theatrical. It's just not birthed from theater.
Right. Well, that was really well said. Like surgically acute, a way of putting it. New Orleans music, people think of the Meters and Galactic and stuff. Y'all don't sound like that, but you are definitively New Orleans.
Definitely.
A New Orleans group. What are some of like the ways you think that you embody New Orleans culture in any way that people might not pick up on because they're
used to a certain sound.
Preconceived notion.
Well, to me, I feel like I'm birthed from the underbelly of New Orleans, which is the open mic scene. The artists, the painters, the skateboarders, people that may have walked in on a jazz club and like, nice, and walked out. People that were influenced but not guided by the traditional New Orleans sound. So when I think of myself in New Orleans, I think more of the spirit of could speak to anybody. Hey, from your porch and don't know who they are. Just getting in where I fit in, for real. But it's definitely, it's new kids on the block for sure. But a familiar block. I that's the only way I can honestly explain it, because we just carved our own lane, but definitely with good New Orleans people. The poets were always so accepting of me. That's why I feel so free. And though I grew up in church, I don't feel like a gospel singer, even though I have gospel roots. Right. I feel more nervous at church singing than at an open mic full of strangers. I pass it up and do a poem at church, honestly. It's a spirit. It's the hey baby.
Yeah.
Inside. It's inside.
I love what you say too. Never gets old.
Girl, you'll do some crazy things when your heart is broken and you're looking for someone to fix it. You make decisions you wouldn't normally make. You give attention to things and people you wouldn't normally give it. You give the guards a break. You give away the key code a little quicker than usual. You leave yourself unnoticeably open, vulnerable to intrusion. Someone can walk inside of you and take and leave things that you don't even notice are missing until it's too late. Like your attention, like their intentions. You gotta be real careful where you take your heart to get fixed. Shady ass mechanics, cheap prices, a hookup here and there, a spare tire, a spark plug that sparks your attention, an easy insurance job that gains your assurance, cause you got to get back out there, gotta keep rolling, or somebody gotta be chauffeuring. I mean, how else are you gonna get to your destiny? How else will you get to where you're going? Can't seem lonely, alone, broken, unwanted, unworthy. Can't have that now, can we?
I feel like you've become ambassadors to the Crescent City, even though you're a unicorn and not emblematic of all the groups there. You've become a shining star. Represent.
I can represent a certain part of it for sure. Definitely.
Does that feel good?
Yeah, to represent a certain part. Hell yeah, why not? Why not? I am. I feel like I'm New Orleans baby girl.
But is New Orleans representing you? Like, do you feel like the city has got you?
Yeah, I do. The people that should. I mean, am I always going to be at the clubs? Probably not. The club, because bounce music and brass music rule New Orleans. So that's not all the way me. It's a part of me, but it's not all the way me. But that's okay. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
By the way you speak, the art itself.
It ain't from nowhere else.
Right.
Yeah, this is the place.
So you couldn't deny it if you tried, but it's nice to know that you feel supported by the hometown and the roots.
I do.
City.
I do. I mean, look at me. I'm the Jazz Fest poster this year.
Really?
That's crazy. I would have never thought
My
that.
mom already ordered it. I didn't. She just told me she said I pre-ordered the poster, but I didn't even know it was you. We have one from every year.
That's amazing. Yeah.
I'm excited now to know that.
Yes, that's amazing to me. That's like I never would have thought that we would, especially starting out our first Jazz Fest, and we were the first people over on the stage, and nobody was there but the people that worked there. To move our way up like this is crazy. You can't say it happened overnight. People may look at it from Tiny Desk and be like, "Oh, they did this overnight," but no, we've been really doing our thing for years. We just
like 2011-ish, right?
How long it's been? Like 14 years.
So you've been already grinding for 6 years before you even sent in the tape to Tiny Desk.
Yes, definitely. And she sent that in. We didn't even want to do nothing like that.
Meryl. All right, Meryl on the keys. No,
The
Meryl,
keys.
sorry.
Joshua Johnson on them drums. Joshua Johnson on them drums. Joshua Johnson on them drums.
All right, he's too special. That's too special.
And then the jelly on my right, the jelly on my right, jelly on my right, jelly on my right, See, you special too, friend.
I'm a little special.
You special
I know I'm
too.
special. Oh, but last but not least, y'all make some noise for this beautiful, colorful sister, Miss TARRIONA Tank Ball. We are Tank and the Bangas.
We didn't know it was a big deal like it was.
Tiny Desk was like this cool little thing, and then you guys became
A flagship.
yes, and then it blew up, and now you got
No,
like
everybody wants to do one. It's crazy, especially when your closest friends do it. You be like,
yes, but you broke the mold on that one.
I do that, and I hope people know that we were very influential in that particular way, and it just was so natural because, like, who cared? You know, it's insane. It was always special, but I don't think it was as special, honestly, to Black people.
No,
No. Well, now, back in the day, you would have never had Shaka Khan do it in SWV, and you know, I think it was just like really T-Pain who did it before us, and that was dope. But it gave like artists that weren't signed, like just like they felt like they could do it. What you want to say?
I know I'm not in an interview, but can I give a little bit of accuracy to it?
sure.
Robert Glasper was really like an influential part of the NPR Tiny Desk. I mean, at least for me, he was on before T-Pain. And I think
I didn't even know he was on before T-Pain.
when T-Pain did the Tiny,
Because people could see that he could sing auto-tune and all.
Right.
Yes.
yeah, but that's just the accuracy I want to get to.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we made it cool.
Cool.
We made it cool. We made it cool for other Black people. They just, I don't know. I just think, you don't think so?
No, I think
Yeah.
Fantastic Negrio was the first winner,
Right.
but I think our flavor was so different from what Negrito does, and when we entered it, it was the most entrants they had since they had the competition, and it was the first like unanimous win, and just the way it went viral.
It went viral. I think
It changed the
dynamic.
of things.
Yeah.
But I always thought it was very freaking cool.
I wouldn't have placed the timeline with T-Pain ahead of first because I always think of you guys breaking the mold.
And Leanne Live has made me like it.
Oh, I love her.
Her Tiny Desk made me be like, whoa.
I don't need to hear you play so many other ways to lie. So pack away every verse and every rhyme. Forget all the words that should break my heart.
Yeah, so everybody has their own introduction into it. And I think everybody will probably have their own perspective. But I think Bob Baldwin would definitely agree that we made a difference in the future of it.
This scene, the Jam Cruise, and to a lesser extent, Jazz Fest, people love Fish, the band Fish. And Trey Anastasio from Fish, like the leader of the band guitars, he was a judge or like a
He
evaluator.
was. Anthony Hamilton, too.
Yeah, but he co-signed y'all like early with like strongly, and not that it really matters to most people, but to like this little corner of the musical universe that's like Moses heading down the 10 Commandments.
Is there a video of that? Because we need to share that on our YouTube.
Well, this group is just full of energy. Trey, what stood out for you?
Well, I immediately
love this. This was a clear winner for me. And Tank is like a force of nature.
This is the woman who's kind of right up front and center in the camera.
Just full of joy. And her band was killing in the background.
The interactions they had and the way they surprised one another, it just was organic and on the spot. I think that's what was winning for me. What about you, Trey?
Agree. And that New Orleans thing, I did kind of think when I was watching them of that joy from, Professor Longhair right on through the meters and this funkiness. But it's so 2017 with Tank and the Bangas. There's clearly like a vocabulary that's sort of hip-hop in there, too. They're great.
He said, make you blush. So I think that turned a lot of people in this scene onto you real early because Trey co-signed you like that.
Whoa, one need to go look into that again so I could blush.
You were really generous with your time, and I know that, a lot of it. So I just want to finish with just like a future question. Like what, we've been talking about your past. What's in the pipeline for the next, 3, 6, 9, 12 months?
Jesus Christ. It's about to be, as soon as we get out of here, we're going overseas to promote the heart, the mind, the soul, and going on the big tour with Trombone Shorty, which is going to be very exciting. It's always amazing to tour with Shorty, doing another tour, and after that, working on another album.
Yes, don't stop.
That's what it seems.
Yeah, I love Shorty. Pete's a friend. Guitars, Pete Morano.
Love Pete.
Yeah, Freaky Pete.
He's so sweet.
Yeah, and I think that the lineage is in great hands with Troy, yourself, and your peers down there.
Yes, PJ Martin, Frida, the Soul Rebels, just so many groups that's just doing their thing. And even hats off to the people that's coming behind us that's birthed from the open mics and the corners of New Orleans on Frenchmen Street.
Well stated, and I couldn't agree more. And I want to shout out a woman who actually opened my ears so I could receive your art, and that's Ursula Rucker on the Roots Records. The Black Lily scene in Philly. I'm from Philly.
Love Philly.
Day night.
You didn't even mention Jill.
Yeah, of course, Jilly's from Philly.
Because she blessed the album,
Yeah.
Actors act. Poets write poems. It's in the ink for me. Still just feels necessary and voluntary. Poems decree. Scribing. In fact, the hateful didn't want us reading or writing. So we care.
Yeah, we love Jilly from Philly.
Norman loves it. Norman would have loved this interview with you. He would have loved it.
Maybe next time,
Yeah, and we had that same kind of movement going on. Yep.
Wow.
Where there are words and musicians gathering, artists and painters alike, you will get art, period. You will get art.
To make your shoes move to the dance floor. What you came for? Acting like you didn't know that I flow everything overnight with the beats by the pound at the ice cream shop. They finally dropped the first lady on that no nigga tank, and I'ma act a plum fool, baby. Thank God ain't you can't see even if you had a bird's eye view. But buy photos 'cause my photos just
Yes, indeedy. Had to break out the Mia X. Come on now. Just tip of the cap to women of the microphone in the Crescent City of New Orleans. And today we heard from one of the best. Thank you. A deep bow of gratitude. TARRIONA Tank Ball of Tank and the Bangas for that awesome conversation, which I know was a tough call time. Noon, day 5, but we did our best, and I thought that was a really great talk. And I hope I encourage some of you folks who aren't already hip to what they're up to get in deeper. And for her voluminous fans from all over the world, I hope everybody enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. And before we get into the next guest, or kind of as a bridge, the next guest is my man Scott T. You've heard him talking about Spirit of Swanee on this podcast before. I've also played a poem of his on an episode. I've played a song of his on an episode. He's one of my dear friends, officiated our wedding at Spirit of Swanee. He has a dynamite new multimedia art project, which I'm going to tell you about in a second. But before we get to that, relative to Tank, Scott had a tremendous, humorous, and just perfect story of himself and the Team SNO Slam Poet crew, and Airplane Bottles of Booze, and The Wayback Machine. And, when I mentioned that I was going to put him on the pod with her, he delivered this just fantastic narrative. So let's hear a short story from Scott T about how he first encountered TARRIONA Tank Ball. And then I'll introduce him proper and a little bit about his art project. Yes, indeedy.
2010, I attended the 2010? Yeah, 2010. In Knoxville, Tennessee, was the Southern Fried Poetry Slam, which is an incredible event of spoken word poetry that's been going on forever. And it was in Knoxville, Tennessee. And I went up there as an individual poet, not with a team. And I think I came in like 20th place out of 100 and something poets or whatever. But they had a bar crawl for the poets. So if you went out in Knoxville and you got a signature of a bartender, whoever had the most signatures would win. Well, I had a hard time not being, I don't know how to put it nicely, not being put off by a lot of the spoken word poets that were competing in the festival. So in my downtime, I just kind of went out into Knoxville, tried to find bars and bands and stuff like that. And so I won the bar crawl. Well, as a prize at the final event, they brought me on stage and awarded me a small brown paper bag of small airport-sized bottles of liquor, or airplane size, I guess. And after the final, which the team from New Orleans won, it was unreal. After the final, I was ready to party and wanted to drink these little bottles of liquor that I was awarded. And no one would drink with me until the championship team from New Orleans, caught wind that I was packing bottles of booze. And on that team was Tank. And me and her posted up and drank little airport-sized bottles of liquor and talked shit and cracked up. And yeah. I doubt she remembers me, but I remember her being super kind and super cool and super just forthcoming with joy. Yeah, there's no way she remembers me, but it's cool to have that contact or just have that like experience of connection. And then years and years later, it's like, oh, you are that person that was super cool to me when everyone else around me wasn't, is now an international superstar. Right on.
Yes, indeedy. That was Scott T telling a little story about Tank. And now we're going to get into the latest and greatest from one of the most creative, visionary, psychedelic artisans, human beings that I've had the good fortune of stumbling across in my time on this rock. And that's my man, Scott T. And I wanted to place a laser focus on his latest, arguably greatest artistic work, and that's called Typewriter. Typerider. Subtle Body Press, a Florida-based publisher, has released Typewriter, a psychedelic multimedia project by Jacksonville-based poet, Scott T. Horowitz. It defies traditional literary boundaries. This extraordinary work combines prose, poetry, visual art, and music into a singular, immersive experience that pushes the limits of creative expression. Typewriter is more than just a book. It is a multimodal journey that engages readers through multiple sensory channels. The project brings together a diverse team of creatives, including Colombian illustrator Jorge Peña, Virginia's music producer B. Helix, and the mystical scholar Dr. Manuel Festamos. Such a brilliant mind, that guy. And these three create a unique interdisciplinary work. Typewriter will be available, or I guess now is available, through all major booksellers. The team encourages local book lovers to support independent bookstores. So if they don't already have copies, just holler at your local bookshop. I myself ordered 2 direct from the website. That'll all be in the show notes. When Scott dreamt this thing up, it seemed like an ambitious project, maybe beyond the scope of possibility, but negative, Ghostwriter. My man really did the damn thing and found a pair of co-creators who really, filled the needs of the audio-visual spectrums to complement Scott's just incredible imagination and powerful poetry. So I thought it was appropriate to pair him up with Tank because we talked a little spoken word and poetry and its connectivity to music and community and bringing people together, and it was symbiosis, if you will. So, Scott, like I said before, one of my dearest friends and one of the most amazing people I've ever met, and I'll always amplify anything he's doing of this nature because the world's a better place for art like this. I'll save the rest for the conversation. You're hearing Charles Bradley and the Extraordinaires. The late, great Charles Bradley, one of Scott's favorite artists of all time. And this is from Jazz Fest 2014. Shout out WWOZ for the archive. And now let's hear from Scott T. about Typewriter. This was recorded at Spirit of Swanee Music Park, where he married us, where we first frolicked together as homies a dozen years ago. It was the perfect venue for such a free exchange of ideas. Yes, indeedy.
2 1/4, 48 times. Buddha dump all the new rhythm and rhyme. Think, thought, all the new, all in due time. Pink pot, dollar drop, pollen, poo shine. Seed effect, bloom cause, in end in which thunder sleeps. Silver bulk, gold water, because a fountain free flowing seems to be showing. Dream grape, boat vines, beauty skin, blowing in the wind begins the great reveal. Unstolen, unstoppable steel, still strolling metropolis till the storm tore the top of this stone tone stops into it of love.
All right, we're back. Up for Life podcast. I'm here with my man Scott T, somebody very dear to me. He's got a dope new art project that just came out. I actually had opportunity to get the advanced experience. It's not just to listen. It's not just to read. It's a lot of things. And before we get into the deep end, just briefly, for curious folks out there, what is Typewriter, your project?
Typewriter, it's a new album, book, mobile art gallery, synthesis of poetry, music, and art, framed in the way that an album is framed, or a collection of artworks are framed, or a collection of poetry is framed, sent out into the world.
And you actually had an opportunity to partner with an independent publisher or something?
Yeah, by a stroke of good luck and good fortune, Chamberlain's book mine one day in Jacksonville, Florida, looking for a copy of the Illuminatus trilogy by Robert Anton Wilson. They didn't have that, but the guy that was working there was like, "That's the book you're looking for? Who are you?" And I started talking, and he told me he had just published a zine, 7-story hotel, for Subtle Body Press. And his name's Corey Hart, and I kept in contact with him over the course of a year or two, mostly like bothering and pestering him of, I think I could contribute to the zine that you're doing. I see what you're trying to do. I think I can make connections, blah, 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 whatever. And then when it was all, when I had the poetry collected and the pieces of art collected and the music collected. It was like all ready. I'm kind of helpless when it comes to things like that. And he came into contact with it, and he was like, this is the least derivative thing I've ever heard. I want to help you. And he took it upon himself to put it into a whatever word media file you got to do it and orchestrate it a certain way. And then he ran it up the flagpole at his publisher, and they decided to take it on at Subtle Body Press, which is a cool small press. They do like, it's a lot of, some of it's esoteric and occult, but a lot of it's fringes. They have a wide, weird 10 of highbrow stuff.
But that's a hell of a compliment to hear from somebody whose business it is to like sift through applications for, hey, publish my stuff, check my thing out. And you didn't like solicit that. He was just made aware and came to contact with the art you were making and found it to be least derivative. I mean, that's fucking huge. That's just like, this is original and impactful and unique to itself. And I just think that that's a monster compliment coming in. So kudos for like, you know, connecting with somebody whose strength is like administrative stuff and like the dotting I's, crossing T's, like software and promotion and like you're a creative. So like your strength is in making the art and dreaming it up, in like being a storyteller, being a cultural anthropologist, right? So, you know, that's one of those kismet serendipity things where you come in contact with the gentleman with the small press, and that he was so taken with that he would lay that dope affirmation on you and then also take it upon himself to bring it to physical fruition. So,
I mean, at the very least, he set it up to where it was like, here it is in the draft form. I don't know if the press that I work for will want to run with it, but I believe in like the art that you've done so much so that I'm going to like put my own time into locking and loading this to where then now you have this as like a proof of concept that then you could throw somewhere else. That I needed help doing that, and Corey helped me. He swooped in and just like a magical ally on a mythic adventure, which is how a lot of this stuff kind of came together too, which is cool because it's...
Yeah, let's talk about allies before I get into my own like visceral reaction to like hearing it for the first time, or I shouldn't say hearing it, reading it, hearing it, watching it, experiencing it, soaking it,
beholding it.
Yeah, beholding it. I thought the musical, the sonic accompaniment, not just the music itself, but the way that your voice, because you're dictating the poetry and telling the stories, but you're not just reading. Your voice is adulterated. It is like dubbed out, almost like a Lee Perry fucking, you know, in the arc, but also like elements of like house music, like down tuning yourself and like octave stuff. And like when that's in the headphones and you're also following along visually, that's what clicked for me. So I'm curious, like, tell me just a little bit about who was involved from a sonic perspective, your collaborator there, and also the fucking visual shit, like I don't want to call them like scribbles because they're artwork, but it's also very like non-pretentious and like fucking zap, bam, like just splatter thought, you know, not really pretentious and like all, you know, hoity-toity. It's very like punk rock, the art, the zine ethos of the visual art. And also sonically, it's not like they just laid a bed of music. It tells the story. So I'm curious, like 2 parts. Tell me about those cats. And also, did the dude who made the music also tweak your voice, or did you tweak your voice?
It started where once I started noticing during the pandemic, I started typing on a typewriter and composing poetry on an actual portable typewriter that my partner Ashley found at a antique store for like $50. It's like a 1950s Royal portable typewriter, and started fucking around with that during the pandemic. And I just started to notice weird things started to happen when I would type, and the poetry was unique unto itself versus poetry that I've done mumbling to myself and composing it with spoken word or writing it down or tip-tapping on my laptop or I thought they had a unique presence to them. And at the time I was living with Chris Underdahl at his studio, Blase Blah Studios in Jacksonville, Florida. He was letting me sleep on the floor of his music studio in exchange for helping pay the rent. And we, I recorded some, when I lived with him, I recorded some of my songs with him, and we started recording the poetry there too. So it was like, I'm going to record the rough draft vocal takes of these poems and send them to my friend Ben, B. Helix, who lives on a farm outside Charlottesville, Virginia, who I met after a fish show. He was staying with my friend Andrew in New York City during the Baderfield Fish Run in 2012. And I remember when I met him, he's an incredible stringed guitar player, mandolin, banjo. He's a great musician. And he runs an organic farm. Great farmer, great musician. And I remember during that fish run when I met him, it was like he was crushing it so hard on like the mandolin and the guitar and this back little patio of New York City. And I remember enjoying it and sitting there and being like, there are so many sounds in this city right now, like the subway, the cars, like, and somehow like in this little 20-foot by 40-foot courtyard, there's this like quiet stringed instrument. He had like something about his presence of playing like struck me like that. Where we stayed in touch, and then he learned how to do electronic music. Sorry, I'm getting way in the weeds here.
Oh, this is good. I want to hear about like the musical component. So it's a good tie-in.
I met B. Helix during a fish run, Randall's Island, my friend Andrew's house. We stayed in touch, and he's a great musician of stringed instruments. And a couple years ago, he learned how to do electronic music. He just totally submerged himself into that. B. Helix is his producer name. And for a while, I had these poems, and I knew I wanted to turn them into music. And I was contacting a couple different people I know that produce music, and everyone's got their own shit going on, and people are for hire, people, everything, and just sharing it with everyone I could, the poetry. And when Ben heard it, he was so moved by it, he's just immediately was like, put it to music and sent it back to me. And it was like, whoa, this is a cool thing, So he used my vocal takes to put to music, and he made most of the decisions on what's going on with my voice. But we had a couple back and forths of like, he took a swing at it, I gave a couple like edits, he redid it, bounced it back. There was definitely some back and forth on that. But what I was most intrigued by is how he would hear the poem, just spoken word, and then would create an entire like sonic ecology for that piece.
Government wise is you always so political. Bee buzzing near or leaf blower lawnmower far. I wish I was a wonder star. Inform at Ion spoke in his fate. Away, awake, awoke, awake, away up. Slip hers on, walk toward dawn through wilderness of mirrors. You and I verse L, Omen I verse L. Who are you? You're out.
This is really fucking cool. There's no preconception to any of it at all.
I mean, that's part of what makes it really cool is the spur of the moment sort of like, even though it's recorded, it's like improvisational and conceptually improvisational. Like there was no like, here's we're going to do this and I need you to do this. It was like, you were like jamming in a metaphysical sense.
Yeah. And I believe, T.S. Eliot says poetry is the red meat to distract the guard dog of the mind while the real message sneaks through. I believe that's true for all art forms, and that the meaning of a piece of art is the feeling it gives you. And so when I sent him the poetry, it was just like, do whatever you want. I'm not trying to make it like this or like that. Like, see it how you feel it and make it sound like that.
The inspiration moved him brightly.
Sure. And then once we had all the pieces together, so that was pretty much done for like a year and a half.
You talk when you say the album, you mean the
sonic components of it. Yeah, that and I wanted to
have
synthesize it with illustrations. Yeah.
So where does the Giz guy come in? Like, how do you connect with? Is it Jorge?
Jorge Pena. Yeah, he's a great visual artist, and
he's from the Giz universe, right?
Yeah, but he lives in Cucamonga, Colombia. If I forgot or mispronounced the name of your town, Jorge, I apologize. I think it's Cucamonga. I was regularly attending the Dharmanaut Circle, which is a meditation group that Eric Davis led.
Shout out Eric Davis, Burning Shore.
Through that, there was like a Discord community started for the Dharmanaut Circle, and a guy named David reached out to me on that to just chat it up about things, one-on-one. And he was involved with King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.net, KGLW.net. The guys that are doing all the heavy lifting there for trying to like bring that sort of structure to that sort of living emergent fan base and subculture. And Jorge had just illustrated a comic book that was affiliated, that a fan did, that was affiliated with one of the King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard albums, I think Polygon Wonderland. Yeah, so then in that, I saw his art for that Giz comic, and I just hit him up and said, I've got this project. What do you think of this? I sent him the music, and he was super excited, and then basically like immediately just started painting.
Let me probe that for a sec. Did you only send him sound, or did he get the typewriter, like the poems, the imagery, including how he created just to the music or to both?
I initially sent him the music, and I'm sure that I sent him the written words with the music. But the prompt for him was, this is a synthesis of created of, I've done something, what feeling does it give you? Respond to that with your craft, and then took that synthesis of the words and the music and sent it to him. And whatever feeling this gives you, paint that feeling. Yeah. And that's what happened.
Incredible. There's like this parallel sort of inverse relationship, because what we're talking about is people in different places who don't know each other, as the kids say, in real life, right? So all of it is done using modern technology like email, digital file sharing. The images were sent to you from Jorge through software that creates art. Obviously, electronic music production is based on technology.
Well,
right?
He physically painted these too.
Even still, to transmit the images to you.
Right, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
Scan it there.
But what you're describing as far as like the mission and the ethos and the, I would say, modus operandi is the opposite of like technology. And it's like primordial, like art, feeling, muse, response, like very, very primordial stuff that's thousands of years old.
Yeah, it's and that's something that fueled, at this time I was very McLuhanist idea that technologies are just extensions of human faculty
for less well-read
self-perception.
Give us a footnote on McLuhan.
Marshall McLuhan was he invented media ecology, which is just that the study of the science surrounding media, technologies that humans use to extend themselves into the world to build things and communicate with one another. And he was most famous in like the 60s and 70s. And at the time I attended an online course taught by his grandson, Andrew McLuhan, on his book, Understanding Media.
One more thing I want to probe, specific to creating, like the actual creative process. I don't know if you said this to me off the air in the beginning when you were just kind of riffing on the basics, but you said like when you I'm a writer in a different sense, and I primarily write on like a laptop or a computer workstation. But you were saying that something was different, like a feeling, a sort of energetic and inspiration, specifically from the typewriter. Obviously, it's right there in the name of the project, typewriter. So it obviously has a huge influence, and it's an anachronism, like to type on a typewriter in a world where we have to share things digitally. So what does strange mean? Like, what kind of stuff did you feel, experience? Like, why was this process of typing the poems, like, what fused at that light?
Just something I started to notice, and I think it has to do with the fact that I can understand how the technology works. Something specific happens if you write a poem with a pen or a pencil in your hand to the page, and it's a different thing if you write poetry on your phone or on your laptop. I don't understand how my phone and my laptop work. I understand that there's microchips and there's all this shit, but like, I don't understand how that works.
Like the simple machine of a typewriter versus the technology.
Yeah, like I don't understand circuitry.
Right. You don't understand a typewriter.
I understand the concept of circuitry, but I don't. But the typewriter is just something about, okay, it's so simple and it's like mechanically designed, and just something happens with that where it's like a resonant thing happened between my brain and my fingers. And the thing, it was like synesthesias of meaning, synchronicities happening around me while doing it. I believe in like the idea that language is the fundamental layer of reality. And so the way that we render information to our experience of life is through language and through code. And that our relationship to language is we learn ABCs and that, but that's using phonetic alphabets. And back in ancient Egypt and ancient Greece, thriving civilizations and cultures existed, and language was a living thing. And then it gets entombed in a phonetic alphabet.
Take off the headphones, take off the ears. Take off the tin tones, take off the fears. Dice, crust, roll garbage, sink pan, clear. Squirt gun, flamethrower, phlegm scrape, weird. Haywire, pole needle, compass, ghost spin. Ancient future space timer, north within. Living within one another's listening, the art is in resonance. Hidden abundance, entangled in tickles. Pork tax, top sailed down. Fork mac, more facts, force fell down.
So to play with language and to play with it on the typewriter and the world around me, like I remember a specific instance of like, being in a very high-minded place and putzing around the house as I'm composing a poem, which sometimes when it's really happening, I'm like just sort of pacing around, mumbling to myself and amusing myself and like really probing at a feeling and trying to make sense of it with words and not knowing what I'm reaching for and working through the anxiety of trying to find something I don't even know what the fuck I'm trying to find and blah, 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 and coming up with a slick turn of phrase that amuses myself and dealing with that. And like the house was a mess. So it's like, okay, I'm picking up a 3-day-old piece of pizza crust and I break it in half and shake it in my hands a little bit and then throw it in the garbage can and grab up the sink and throw it into the sink and it lands in the sink and all of that, like the roll of the crust into the garbage can, boom, boom, sing, ding. Like the sounds of my immediate environment were musical. And in that moment, registered as dice crust, roll garbage, sink pan, clear, land like nothing but net when I threw the sink pan into the sink. Went ching as I tabbed the crust, threw it in the garbage. Boom, boom, ting, ting, ting. It was like dice crust, roll garbage, sink pan, clear. And then went, ran back over to the typewriter and typed that down and boom. So there's like weird things like that happening. And it wasn't always just like writing things in my immediate environment and describing them as like absurdly as I could. It was often, I'm human and I'm wrestling with what does it mean to make meaning of life and my relations, and that I have the capacity to communicate myself and transmit my feeling to those who care to receive information from another person. So it was just an exercise in like doing that.
Word. That was really creatively explained and actually really illuminating for me on the passage that you recited and the specific situation that gave birth to it and where it comes from. And the fact that you can like hear music and mine art out of the mundane, like daily chores, like things that you would think are innocuous or don't have meaning, but the rhythm of the way that things happen or any of the inspirations. Like, I think that that's a remarkable part of what you produced here, is that it's not all just stuff that is really introspective or deep thinking. A lot of it is syllabic and rhythmic and pentameter and almost like how would I describe it? It's like a benediction at times. It's like you're in preacher mode, but at the same time you're like off your rocker, and at the same time you're also like somebody I've talked to, like not just you personally, but you sound like somebody I'd be around hanging out, riffing on some shit. It's all these different things at once, which kind of brings me to the thing I was talking about with you off air. It was like, there's a certain chaos to the sensory overload until you settle in and you're like, okay, this is how this is going to go. And then it's almost the opposite of chaos. But initially, the concept, like getting acclimated to this delivery system, 3-pronged, plus those 3 prongs then, depending how your brain works, set off exponential prongs in your own mind and the way you receive it. So my first reference point when I put it on, I felt like it was like a direct extension of hearing like Keezy on the megaphone at the acid test while like the Dead is playing over here and there's like a fucking Hindu chant circle going over here and the Diggers are serving free breakfast over here and there's fucking Keezy or fucking Neil Cassidy or Ken Babbs just like spouting off.
And if you get what we mean, the only way out of this armor is to love it, 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 love me, love the machine, and love the meat of you and me.
And that's the first thing I connected it to. And then it's funny you brought up the zines, because when I was a kid, as a writer and a music guy, I bought tons of punk and metal zines, little like newspaper style with like real DIY art and like cutty. You could like mail away for tapes that were handwritten, shipped to you. Not unlike the hippies did with Dead stuff, but a whole different world. So for you, like to connect these like touchstones of music subculture, like the acid test and everything that's been born out of that sort of spontaneous combustion of stuff. I mean, shit, we're grieving the loss of Phil Lesh this weekend, and I mean, he was at that shit, and like what those guys did with just that one arm of it. And I know you're deeply embedded in the sort of scholarly, like really the thinker side of psychedelic culture that grew directly out of that sort of Bay Area bosom of art and psychedelics and activism. So yeah, I received it as a direct extension of that lineage, and also loved how you didn't just jump from the 60s to now. Like there's the zine, the punk rock factor, and then when you bring in the music, I mean, I loved the music. Like for this dude to be kind of like newfangled at making electronic music, it's remarkable because he uses tremendous restraint and lots of like cool aesthetics, and he does more with less, and he like accentuates your work and doesn't overpower it, doesn't make it about the music, but the music is just dope.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of steps, like from Keezy on the megaphone all the way up to typewriter. Did you feel that along the way, or is that just shit that I'm kind of conceiving?
Yeah, I mean, it's the window that I did it was through the pandemic up until the end of 2021, and during this time, I mean, I was throwing myself into the poetry as a mechanism of synthesizing things that I was studying and learning about and getting into, which involved some of that, but also just the living, like daring to enter the pantheon of greatness for a tradition that you feel you're in creatively. I admire so much great art and music and scientific thinkers and all of that. And I really have it in mind. Like when I did slam poetry a long time ago, oftentimes I'd be writing for, how can I engineer this poem so that people will have a reaction that means I'm doing good. But no, this is just like an exercise in synthesizing my own understanding of different things. So you picking up on all of that makes perfect sense, because those things are all in my field of awareness for sure. But not trying to emulate any of that, just having a sincere interest in probing and inquiring into the mystery of life, essentially.
I mean, that answers it, that it was not intentional, but it was definitely present and a part of the influence and inspiration, subcultural lineage. I don't know, just to bring this portion of them, because I'm sure we're going to revisit this in the future. Can you just tell folks who are just tapping into this, your abbreviated version of like your ideal, like where somebody should place themselves physically, mentally, energetically to receive this art experience, not like with their antennas?
Yeah, I mean, ideally centrally located in front of a bitchin' hi-fi stereo system, but headphones work. But I really believe in music and art, especially music, as a transportation vehicle, an idea inspired by the equations of Sun Ra. And so the work of art, the music, are little pathways to certain dimensions of feeling. And so to listen, the offering of the music is an invitation to passage, to depths of feeling that I have felt, that I feel each person, each human, their feelings is the feeling of humanity. And to the extent that each of us individually can feel what is to be felt and communicate that feeling as musically as possible, that is how we lift ourselves up as a people upon this pitiful blue planet that people are trying to blow up.
Well stated, as usual. You did just drop Sun Ra in there, and I meant to, if I was a little better organized with my notes, because I did make note of this, part of that lineage I was talking about from Kesey in the acid test era and the nascent days of the Grateful Dead thing. I also, in the cacophony of sensory overload, again, studio cans, huge, because you hear everything, and it removes those whatever's going on around you, right? So hi-fi system or studio cans. But what I was thinking relative to Sun Ra is, like, if you just try to like play Sun Ra, just like put it on the car, like put on whatever, it's noisy, it's cacophonous, but
it can be.
Yeah. Well, you're tuned to a different wavelength, much like, Sun Ra, where you can navigate through the noise to discern, distill, mine, and retransmit like the ancient jewels in there. And so I'm saying I saw the lineage, or I felt the lineage there, where it's like if you put on the headphones and just try to like listen to Typewriter as like an quote album, you could have that visceral first reaction of cacophony, noise. Where do I even start? What is this? But then once you like attune yourself to this experience, it's no longer noisy. Everything's purposeful, intentional. And so, yeah, that's what I wanted to express to people listen who might, not be accustomed to just plugging into something like this. Like if you actually like create and hold the space for yourself to fully engage, you might not love it, but you will get past the sensory overload cacophony and tap into something that's, like I said, both futuristic and ancient, primordial, and like also the essence of art. I often talk about surfing in regards to like you could do lots of pursuits that take a lot of stuff and paying for things and privileges and passes and flights or whatever, but whether that's snowboarding or whatever kind of pursuit. Surfing is like man, wind, water, log, like very primitive. And that joy is timeless, that energetic exchange. I've never felt more high or alive than on a wave. I've done a lot of drugs, been a lot of places, like, I try to take it there, but you'll never get like you are in a wave. And so I see that in others' pursuits. So the primordial nature of this, like, I created this and then I like bequeathed it, and then another human received it, and then they created it from the music.
Well, really, when you're saying that, it's making me think of just the act of creation, period. And like the album cover, it's like me boogie boarding on a typewriter through the wave, reaching for the sword in the stone that has a pencil on it. And the image of the sword in the stone, Sun Ra really taught me how to like permutate language and play with language as codes and equations. So things like, well, what happens if you move a letter from the front of the word to the back of the word? Well, sword and stone becomes words and tones. And to pull the sword from the stone, the idea of that like mythological motif can be to pull like language from sound. And when I have the feeling of creating, which usually is lockstep with this and the feeling of like finally understanding something or finally grokking something and processing it and integrating it all simultaneously through an action that is creative, it feels like what I imagine catching a wave feels like.
Indeed. I didn't even think about the cover art tie-in, but that was perfect symbiosis and kismet and unintentional and improvisational, just like everything else we're talking about. So it feels like a good disembarkation point. For now, I want to thank you, tell you I love you. Obviously a dear brother, also very inspired by the way you move through life and what you create when you're here. I do want to send a shout out to your partner, Ashley, because I have an amazing supportive partner who is totally lifts up my pursuits, my passions, my mission, like my creative spirit, like what I'm doing here, loves me for it and lifts me up and inspires me. So to see you have a partner that, holds space for you to be able to make shit like this, like that's an important part. You and I would fall apart without our other halves. So shout out Ashley.
No doubt.
All right. I love you, man.
Yeah. I love it too, dude.
All right. Signing off. We'll revisit this down the road because I think this process, project, and just concept has legs, and I want to do my part to tell people. Peace.
Yes, indeedy. Wowzers. Scott T. Taking things to the next level. Typewriter. All the information and link to find out and cop that shit will be in the show notes. So, yeah, I want to, even if he wasn't the homie, I'd be getting behind this and then some. I mean, it's really just a wide-ranging, wide-reaching, and ambitious artistic statement, endeavor, and it's a new frontier. So shout out Scott T and his collaborators. I'm really fond of the mixes on B Helix SoundCloud, the guy who did all the sound tracking for Typewriter. So I'll put that in the show notes as well. B Helix has some dope mixes of all different kinds of electronic music, most of it psychedelic, on his SoundCloud. And right now you're hearing the Allman Brothers classic Midnight Rider by the brand new trio, organ trio, DTF, Deitch, Title, Freebush. And that's Adam Deitch on drums from Lettuce, of course, and Ari Title from The Rumble, and most recently Dumpster Funk on guitar, and North Carolina-based organ prodigy Sam Freebush on the Hammond B3. And I played this song not only because I love this new shit and this new trio who I'm going to see down there at Jazz Fest, but Scott T is a huge Allman Brothers fan, so I wanted to do him a solid and meet him halfway. My guy Deitch, his favorite band. It's a beautiful thing. And like we always do about this time, the ViBE Junkie JAM. And I was trying to think, what could I play? You know, the typewriter is a different thing. It's not just music, nor is it just poetry, nor is it just visual art. And then, of course, I played a ton of Tank and the Bangas in her interview and introducing her. But we're talking about spoken word. We're talking about the power of poetry. These are heavy times. And one of my most admired, most revered pens and poets is the great Saul Williams. And I was exposed to this piece back in college. I believe it came out like 99 or 2000. It's called Twice the First Time. It's hip-hop AF, but it's also just powerful black power, activist, music, poetry, and messaging. And I'm a huge fan and have been since the first time I heard it. So with that, I'll say goodbye. God bless. Saul Williams, Twice the First Time, and we'll see you next time. Episode 87 of the Upful Life podcast. Yes, indeed.
I will not rhyme on tracks. Niggas on the chain gang used to do that way back. I will not rhyme over tracks. Niggas on the chain gang used to do that way back. Don't drop the beat on me. Don't drop the beat, no. I'm not the son of Shaclack Clack. I'm before that. I am before death is eternity. After death is eternity. There is no death, there's only eternity. And I be riding on the wings of eternity like ha, 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 shaclack, clack. Get me the fuck off this track. As if a heartbeat wasn't enough. They got us using drum machines now. Drums and machines, trying to make our drums humdrum, trying to mute our magic. Instruments be political business up inside computers. As if the heart were not enough. As if the heart were not enough. And as heartbeats bring percussions, fallen trees bring repercussions. Cities play upon our souls like broken drums. We drum the essence of creation from city slums. But city slums mute our drums, and our drums become humdrum. Cause city slums have never been where our drums are from. Just the place where our daughters and sons become offbeat heartbeats, slaves to city streets. When hearts get broken and heartbeats stop, broken heartbeats become breakbeats for niggas to rhyme on top. But I won't rhyme on top no tracks. Niggas on the chain gang used to do that way back. I won't rhyme over tracks. Niggas on the chain gang used to do that way back. Don't drop the beat, no. Don't drop the beat, no. Not until you listen to Rock Kim on a rocky mountaintop have you heard hip-hop. Extract the urban element that created it and let an open wide countryside illustrate it. Riding in a freight train in the freezing rain, listening to Coltrane, my reality went insane. And I think I saw Jesus. He was playing hopscotch with Betty Carter, who was cursing him out in a scat like gibberish for not saying Butterfingers. And my fingers run through grains of sand like seeds of time. The pains of man, the frames of mind which built these frames, which is the structure of my urban superstructure. The trains and planes can corrupt and obstruct your planes of thoughts so that you forget how to walk through the woods, which ain't good cause you ain't never walked through the trees listening to Nobody Beats the Biz, and you ain't never heard hip-hop. And you must stop that damn track from going. Please don't drop the beat. Don't drop the beat, no. Cause I will not rhyme on track. Niggas on a chain gang used to do that way back. I went out to rhyme on tracks. Niggas on a chain gang used to do that way back. Don't drop the beat, no. Don't drop the beat, no. Don't drop the beat. Hard